Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Music podcast. We're your hosts, T. Davis and
bri.worek.
And today we are talking about trying to balance living a healthy lifestyle with the irregular schedule that comes with being a creative person who kind of runs on your own clock, so to speak. So I think this came up the other day when we were talking about like how difficult it is to not order out food at the end of all of these long days and late nights that we have. And yeah, it's just hard.
I feel like when we were living in North Carolina, we did have a lot less of a balance owning a brick and mortar business because it felt like every second of our time was personal interaction with other people. So I feel like that was a really challenging thing because from an energy level, it just required so much more of me. So I felt myself becoming more reliant on caffeine, almost for that little treat during the day. I remember we would text each other and say little treat or LT. We were to the point that it was so commonplace we were just abbreviating.
I feel like at one point we could just send a question mark at a certain time of day.
And we just knew what we needed. And God bless Labrar and Gypsy Bean and Goldsboro for keeping us afloat.
Yeah.
But that was, I feel like caffeine intake is something that I know I've struggled with a lot. And as much as we want to deny, oh, it's not messing with my sleep schedule that much, you get into this vicious cycle that you kind of find one thing that works, and maybe for that week it's that extra cup of coffee. And then I was getting into very unconscious habits where I was wondering, do I even really need this cup of coffee right now? Or am I just so in the habit of getting something to make me feel better to get me through the last hours of my day? Most recently, I've been doing 24-hour glucose monitoring with a little needle thing monitor that you stick in your arm. I'm sure there's a biosensor. I think it's called a biosensor. And I have the Aura ring for the biometric readings, which I know I gave you shit about for a long time with your Whoop. So I don't know if you want to talk about your Whoop for a second.
Well, yeah, I mean, I started wearing a Whoop mostly just to track how things affected my sleep from a lifestyle point of view. And I found that when I was drinking alcohol, like it really significantly affected my sleep. And that was that was part of why I stopped drinking so much, is because having even a little bit of alcohol seemed to really reduce the amount of slow wave and REM sleep that I got. So those are some things that put me on a path of like trying to be more conscious of all of these different factors. But then working with Miranda and, like you said, getting blood work done, looking at the diet, like trying an elimination diet for a while and then adding foods back.
Which I didn't
really
do
helped.
the elimination diet because for me, I to thyself be true. And I know that it's not that I don't have self-control, but I've never been a diet type of person. And if I know concretely that, oh, you shouldn't really be eating this food because XYZ, but when I feel like I'm guessing, I don't really prefer guesswork, I guess. So actually being able to pinpoint, oh, these foods are or are not working for you. And we talked about this a little bit on our last podcast, technically our first podcast, where we made a decision to not drink alcohol. And we really wanted to do things in a next level type of way. And I think working with someone like her was extremely helpful to figure out what the bad actors in our lifestyle choices were.
Yeah, but I think some of those things have begun to creep their way back in just because of the difference in our schedules. When we were in Goldsboro, we both got up at the same time every day. And we do that for this, like, largely, but I feel like, you know, the things that we have to get done during the day are different. And so for you, you work the 10-hour day, Friday through Monday, and the gym that we go to isn't open early in the morning on Saturday and Sunday. So, you can't go to the gym every day that you go to work.
And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those are the days that I have off from the hospital. And those tend to be kind of my creative time days where I have my private clients that I work with for singing or vocal coaching of whatever degree. And it's like, if I don't get to the gym first thing in the morning, once my day has already began, it is really hard to find that area of personal discipline for me. It is really, really hard to get there. And yeah, Saturday and Sunday that they don't open until 7, and that's when I need to be at the hospital. That makes it challenging because like today, we got caught up in doing a bunch of different little things. And so by time we're even recording this podcast, the day feels over already because then I'm going to have my classes when we finish this conversation, and then we've got to eat, and we do want to walk later. We talked about that. So I think as a lifestyle in general, we're trying to find ways where moving, not even just going to the gym, but just moving and being active is a part of our lifestyle.
And it's hard for me because, sometimes my gigs are in the early evening and I get done, at 10 o'clock, which is a pretty reasonable time. I get home and I can kind of wind down and still go to bed at a reasonable hour and get up early-ish. But for example, something that happens in Nashville, Friday night, this past weekend, I got a text at 7:45 p.m. from a number that I didn't know. And it was a guy named Sal, who is the leader in front of the band Honey Bear. And he was like, I got your info from a mutual friend. It seems like your set list matches ours. Can you front my band tonight at 12:30 Club from 10 to 2? And, obviously I'm trying to take every gig that I can. So I took it. But then, I got home at probably like 2:30 that night.
And that was Friday night. So you probably would have been up early with me in the morning.
I'd been up since 5.
Yeah.
And so I got home at 2:30 and then I was just jazzed and I sat up and watched TV, ended up falling asleep on the couch, woke up at 4 and then walked up to bed. So it's just hard.
Tell the good folks about finishing a gig and how hard it is to just go right back to bed, because I don't know what the word I'm looking for, if it's adrenaline or what, but when you finish, you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to go to bed now. Like you want to wind down.
Yeah. Well, even just little things like, when you're performing, if you're putting any effort into it, you're going to get kind of hot and sweaty. Like people look at people performing on stage in an air-conditioned room and think, well, it's not hard, but it's physically very demanding. And so you're exhausted, but because you're kind of getting out of that, I was just kind of hot and sweaty mode. You don't want to like lay right down. You want to change clothes and kind of freshen up a little bit.
And you're hungry.
Because I don't eat typically within 2 hours of when we like the first downbeat hits, because I don't want to be full. I don't want to be sluggish. I want my blood sugar to be, at a reasonable
Stable,
place. Yeah. And I don't want to be like burping and stuff. People don't really think about that. So, you don't eat for a couple of hours, you play. And by the way, that set was straight through, no breaks. And I had to sing every song. None of the other guys really sang lead. And so you're really hungry. Your blood sugar is low. It just doesn't feel like time to lay down and go to sleep. And so you want to sit up and have a snack. And I am like a quantity person. Like, that's why I can't seem to be a thin guy. Is like, no matter what it is, it doesn't matter if it's healthy. It could be broccoli, it could be watermelon or whatever. Like, I just like to eat a lot of food. And so, you know, you sit down at like 2:30 a.m. and have a giant bowl of cereal with a banana in it and watch Sopranos. And it's just really hard to make yourself not do that because, you know, I mean, the science is there. Like, you're not in the right state of mind to be making any kind of good decisions. The hungrier you are and the later it is and the less sleep you've had, the more likely you are to be less inhibited. So that's why, you know, like, I want you to like help keep me in check. But when you do it in like a jokey way, it seems less serious and sincere. So yeah, we have to do that.
Well, and sometimes, unfortunately, because I do also enjoy like a good snack or a good breakfast outing. And just this morning, we had to tell each other, no, we're not going to go to Dose again when we just went yesterday, despite loving their lavender coffee and biscuits and jam. We need to not do that, not just for financial reasons, but also for health, because yeah, that's like a treat and does not need to be our regular everyday meal. And yes, it gets expensive after a while too.
Yeah.
It's tough to keep up.
But the other hard thing is, like, you know, you like to order out like a pizza, and I
get palate fatigue really easily, but not even just that. I get full very quickly. And I think maybe it's just, I don't know enough about the issue. Maybe how our bodies and our brains are just designed differently between you and I. But I could order a Chinese something and eat a quarter of it and feel full. And you could eat all of yours plus mine.
Yeah.
Without argument.
I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't feel like on either side of my family there's like a really super great relationship with food. My mom did a lot of the diet things, like the Atkins diet, the Weight Watchers thing, you know, and that's what another reason I like working with Miranda is because it's simple. Like, look at the macronutrients in the food and structure your diet accordingly. And I don't know, it's just tough. Like, there's the knowing what to do and the being disciplined enough to do it part. That's why I get on that, like, I kind of go like all or nothing on everything. It's like, I'm either gonna eat whatever I want and as much of it as I want, or eat perfectly balanced. And I don't have, like, when you want to order a pizza, I'm like, okay, but then I want to eat like all of it.
And I could eat 2 slices and I'll be fine. But that's where I get mad at you sometimes, because you go into scorched earth mode where you don't want to do any of it. And for me, it can be just a little treat. So for me, it feels like, well, crap, now I don't get anything fun.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard because we don't drink, we don't smoke. We overall don't really have any bad habits outside of, okay, on the occasion, do we stay up too late? Did we eat too much? Did we eat the wrong thing? But there's nothing that we do that's, oh my God, this has really taken us to an early grave situation. So, but again, kind of what I was saying about working with Miranda and being functional versus optimal. When you want to be optimal and you want to be operating to the best of your ability, it does feel like you can't indulge, but only so much, because you don't want to tip the scale to then I'm in this continual cycle of bad habits.
That's what happens with me. Is that, yeah, it's I don't know what it is in my brain, but it's like, once you call it party Tyler, but once that
night Tyler, party Tyler,
once that comes out, it's like it doesn't want to go back onto the normal schedule.
But you do by morning, I feel.
When I wake up and I start the day, it's like, yeah, I'll eat normal portion sizes and stuff again.
It's like you do this psychological walk of shame Like the morning comes and suddenly you realize your mascara is just all smeared and you're still in a mini skirt and you're like, what have I done?
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's also just there's so many good like food options here now, and you can get it anytime.
That makes it
And
hard.
yeah,
That makes it hard because when we had 5 choices where we lived in North Carolina, it was kind of, oh, whatever, not a big deal. And I think part of that artist lifestyle that is harder for you versus me is that you spend so much time in bars, in restaurants. And
hmm
part of your payment sometimes might even be, oh, you get your payment plus a meal, or you get drink tickets, or you get whatever.
hmm
And I think there is a part of you that would probably just rather not have that. Like, can I just have an extra $20 and not
yeah,
really, and on the side of the business, I understand why they're doing it. And for many, I'm sure, that's great and they're being hospitable and that's fine. But it is tricky when you have things given to you and then to have to turn it down.
yeah, yeah. The alcohol thing has become easier just from the year of not doing it at all. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't even it's not even like on my radar to drink. But the hardest thing is not having control over my sleep schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I do, but when you have to kind of take whatever gig comes, that
Mm-hmm.
one gig last Friday is not the only one like that. It it makes a difference, and not even just going to gigs, but like wanting to go out and be social
Mm-hmm.
and support your friends at their
Right.
shows because that's how you network. That's how that's how opportunities find you is by being out
Mm-hmm.
and about. And unfortunately, in the nightlife industry, like that's just part of it is being out late and being around a party crowd.
Yeah, and I know social media, of course, has its function. Even this podcast, we're going to put it on social media and hopefully we gain attention for it and all of those things. But I really don't think that there is a perfect replacement for being physically present, for being seen and talking to people in person and still having conversations. And just yesterday, you were doing an event in the evening, and we had been on several days of social situations. And I told you, "Are you sure you need me to go?" And I knew in my heart of hearts, yes, I need to go and I want to be supportive. I want to meet other people because that is what we're here to do. But I've been trying to also do a better job of building into my schedule and into my habits, taking a break when a break is needed. So instead of saying, "Okay, I'm just not going to go," I took a nap and then I did my voice class that I had, and then we went out. And I think I did maybe a 20-minute meditation and then fell asleep for a little bit, got myself back together again, and then felt refreshed to go back out.
Yeah.
So even just during my day, because when I see patients at the hospital, everyone is scheduled back to back to back to back. So I don't really have much of a break outside of going to lunch. In my personal schedule with my clients, I now have them separated at least 15 minutes apart, if not more sometimes. So it does give my mental abilities time to reset, which is very important for me when you're working one on one with people and when you're entertaining a crowd for what you have to do too. You have to have it's like you're a dancing clown and you have to have a certain level of energy that you're bringing because it's your job, whether it's performing or therapy, it all feels like performance where you have to bring your audience or your client up to a certain level because that's what they're paying you for.
Right.
And I try the best that I can to take a minute, 2 minutes, and just breathe, whether I'm in the bathroom and I'm doing this, or I'm about to get out of my car to go into work or go into the gym, and just sitting and really intentional about, okay, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, I'm breathing, and then I go versus boom, 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 boom. And by the time you get to the end of the day, you're just completely exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah, you've been saying that you've been trying to be more mindful of doing that.
Mm hmm.
Yeah. I think I don't know, even just like, taking, meetings and like, the whole like, let's grab a coffee and, connect.
Mm-hmm.
All of those little things present opportunities to indulge in, take
Mm-hmm.
out or whatever. Like, I don't know, just all of these things seem to have poor nutritional choices
Mm-hmm.
and, the ability to like have caffeine in the afternoon
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. Because that really messes with your sleep too.
Yeah.
I don't think you were kind of in denial about that for a long time, but then you
Yeah.
got your Aura ring that you don't shut up about. And and now
It's amazing. I don't care what he said.
and now that's all you talk about. But
Well, putting that with the glucose monitoring with the ring, it's been really interesting because something that is troubling for me, if I don't get home from the hospital until 6 because my days are longer, I would want to do all of my next day things, packing my gym bag or showering or whatever it may be, packing my lunch, and then eating dinner. Because to me, when I'm eating my dinner, okay, this is my sit down time, this is my rest time. I don't want to rest and then get up again and have to do the things. But I really have been trying to eat as soon as I get home. So then I've got a solid 2 to 3 hours because I really need to be in bed by 9 if I'm getting up somewhere in the ballpark of 5. So I'm really trying to do my best about getting my meals in early because I noticed if I'm eating too close to bed, then my glucose is still coming up and then my heart rate's not having the time to decrease and I'm just not getting a restful night's sleep. I noticed that consistently. My sleep scores would be consistently bad. And the more that I'm looking at the monitor, I'm like, I ate too close to bed. Again, screwing me up.
yeah, it's unfortunate. The the health devices
Mm-hmm.
do a really good job of making you just like so bummed out because I noticed the same thing. Like on days when I don't, if I can make myself not get home from a gig and eat, like if I can just, okay, I ate dinner before the
Mm-hmm.
gig, I know I feel hungry, but I should probably just like drink a bunch of water because I'm
Mm-hmm.
probably dehydrated.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I should just drink a bunch of water and go to bed. On the nights that I do convince myself to do that, my heart rate variability is significantly higher. My sleep score is better. My recovery is better.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel better the next day.
Yeah.
So it's that sacrificing the pleasure of now for the feeling better tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sucks.
Have you ever looked at your calorie counts when you're on stage? How much you're actually dispensing?
Yeah, I feel like it. I don't know. I feel like, so I wear my whoop on my right hand, and that's also my strumming hand.
Mm.
So when I do play the guitar, I think it kind of artificially bumps up my strain because it reads strumming as like steps or something. Because like on days that I have gigs,
some
I'll have
movement.
like 25,000 steps, and I'm like, I know I didn't do
You were
25,000 steps.
dancing on that stage. is
And I
what
don't,
happened.
and I don't dance. So I know that's not what it is either.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's accurate. I think I wore it on stage a couple of times. I don't like to wear the whoop on stage. I feel like it's not very hip
Mm.
to be wearing. I don't know.
I feel, and this might be an unpopular opinion, I feel like that with Apple Watches. You know, people will be at a dressed up, like I see women in ball gowns and they still got their Apple Watch on.
Yeah.
It just seems like
Like
it
really, you need
doesn't go.
you need your text messages at this formal occasion.
Yeah, it just doesn't go together. I don't
Yeah.
know. But here I am wearing my ring everywhere, but I feel like maybe that
I don't feel like that's the
blends
same
that
thing.
blends better. I
That
don't
can
know.
look like a piece of jewelry.
Right,
You know?
just might be a piece of jewelry.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, we found a new good place to walk. So I think we're going to be doing that more.
Yes, we wandered into Alice in Wonderland yesterday.
Yeah,
I was
so-
just waiting for the Cheshire Cat.
So we went to Two Rivers Park, which is just 10 minutes down the highway from us. And I've been there a lot,
We've been there multiple times together.
but I always, when we'd get to the parking lot and I would like turn left and kind of walk through the Frisbee golf course over by the school.
Mhm.
I think it's McGavick High School or something like that.
Mhm.
And I was like, hey, let's just like
Let's
turn
go right instead of left.
and you end up getting connected to the, like, I don't know, it's the city bikeway or whatever. It's a big network of bike paths that take you down to, I think it's Shelby Park or something like
I
that.
think Shelby Park, yeah.
But it's like miles and miles and miles of like walking on a really nice asphalt uh path,
Which I love.
and you're kind of in the woods, and there's like a nice shading canopy effect of the trees, and you get to walk on like a suspension bridge, like a pedestrian suspension bridge across the Cumberland River, and it was just really pretty. It was beautiful. We kind of
30
obnoxiously
times yesterday.
kept saying how pretty it was.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful day. This is beautiful. We were just nonstop, but
Yeah.
it's okay.
So, well, that's probably where we're gonna go later and walk. But my problem also, we were talking about this the other morning. That's why we decided to talk about this in this episode. Is I don't know how hot you have to get before you enjoy going to the gym and like lifting weights. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how good of a physique do you have to where you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, fuck yeah, I look great. Since we moved here, I haven't really been doing jujitsu, and I really miss that. That was kind of like a thing that kept me very active.
Yeah.
But yeah, the jujitsu school's like 30 minutes away, and it's expensive. So maybe I'll get to do that if I can get some more gigs. Honestly, man, like the struggle is real. Like trying to get like enough like really good paying gigs in Nashville to like make a living is tough.
Because you had some calls this week about, hey, here's a gig, but for tips and no base pay, which is always a roll of the dice because you might kill it in tips. You had a really good gig this week where the band did awesome in tips in addition to the base pay. But when you're only going out for tips and there's no guarantee of I'm getting X amount of dollars to leave the house, there is the threat of I might make $20 for working 3 hours.
Yeah, I think so. Losing the steady nudies gig, which I think we might be getting back. I don't think I mentioned nudies last time we talked about this. I think I just said gig. Anyway,
losing the gig lost last time.
Losing the gig, it's whatever. I mean, it's the fact, Jack. That's what happened. But I think they're gonna have us back on. They had us on a 2 to 6 last Monday, and it went really well. And we added Cameron Jane as a female co-front, and she did a great job. The crowd really dug it. So I think doing that is going to help us get that gig back. I think he'll probably have us back in June. I don't know. He said that he would be in touch, but he said he was leaning towards having us back. But when I lost that gig at the end of April when we got back from Steve's wedding, dude, like I started driving for Uber a few days a week just because you got to make money somehow.
My intention was for you to be so miserable that you would work harder to try to get more gigs. That was
well, it's not. Well, hold on. It's not that I wasn't working hard to get gigs. It's hard to get gigs.
Right.
But, by going out and okay, so here's the thing. Yes, every opportunity to perform is an opportunity to grow your network that could lead to more paid opportunities. And that has happened.
Yeah.
That has actually happened a lot since I've been here. But then once you do start having a network where you can get paid gigs on the books, that becomes a catch-22. Because if you start accepting, quote unquote free gigs, then when one of those paid opportunities present themselves, you can't. And
because you also don't want to get in the habit of canceling gigs because that's not a good look.
Because then you become known as the unreliable person.
Correct.
But that being said, if you want me to be dependable, then compensate me for my time.
Right. Exactly. And that is tricky. And it's all a constant balance because I think for a lot of gigging artists, they do have, as you might call them, a normie job because they need to pay their bills somehow. So they're doing so many things. And many times in those normie jobs, that might be more set type of schedule, maybe not. And I think that's why driving for Uber just seemed
Yeah.
easiest, because you can do whatever you want to, versus if you were working at a music store or a restaurant, and you would be on a schedule where people are relying on you to be there, and that makes it more difficult.
Yeah. I mean, there's not many jobs that you can make like $30 an hour, and if you just don't feel like going, you just don't.
Right.
So it's not bad. And I've met some people. It was really cool. I picked up the first day that I drove, I ended up picking up the guitar tech for the band Seether and taking him to the rehearsal space where they were preparing for their tour. So that was funny.
And I think anything involving people, because sometimes when you have to do things that you don't necessarily want to do, trying to reframe it still as an opportunity, because it is Nashville. We might meet interesting people in those random situations, like picking someone up for an Uber.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah, but I have been booking some more gigs, so I don't think I'm going to end up having to do that as much. Especially if we get that steady gig back. If we get the every Monday night from 6 to 10 slot back, especially over the summer, because that's usually when the crowds are better and we ended up making more tips, But I'm doing that, and yeah, but actually that was part of what we were going to talk about. Like the driving for Uber thing, it's easy, but I feel like I had kind of gotten out of good habits because I was getting up with you and going to the gym and then just doing whatever in the studio. But when I started driving for Uber, I don't drive late at night because I don't want shenanigans in my car. I don't want to be around drunk people. No offense, but I just don't. So I just get up early, like really early in the morning, and I'm trying to be out on the road by like 5:30. So that I can drive until, say, 10 a.m. And then I have the rest of the day to do what I want. But, driving for 5 hours is still driving for 5 hours. Like you do a 5-hour trip in a day and you get home and you're like, oh my God, I'm like ready to just lay down and veg out. But then if I'm supposed to be being creative, having the energy to go to the gym, and really all you want to do is just like lay down, that's tough. So again, it's just trying to strike a balance. It's hard.
I hope someone listens to this and just with the brutal honesty of what we're talking about and all of the other things that we do to make our lifestyle work. I get really frustrated when you look at someone on social media and you see, oh, they have 40,000 followers. You just assume that they have all of the answers or everything is working, and you see so much highlight reel. I need someone to tell me that they feel this too. And I know that they do, because when we have personal conversations with people, they're like, yeah, I couldn't pay my rent this month, or or whatever it was, or oh yeah, I'm working at a coffee shop. But those are the things that you don't typically see.
Yeah.
That when I look at other people in the artist space, it seems like, oh my God, well, they've got all these followers, they've got this and they've got that. And they're struggling potentially just as much, if not more sometimes, as the next person.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think the idea that you can have a job that you're better than is incorrect. So you have to do what you have to do.
And I think that that's what our journey is, and the dedication to it. And even just doing the Uber thing, what I've always told you is I've always been able to provide for myself just based on the nature of my degree and what I'm able to do for work. So I've never really needed you for the sake of, oh, I need you to bring in X number of dollars or take care of me. That's never been the thing. Contribution, I think, comes in many ways, and the extra money that you're making that does funnel through our business honestly has gone to things like lenses and microphones for this podcast. And truly, it's the extra stuff. We typically have bases covered, but when you want to do, again, not the functional in your day to day, but the optimal when you want to do the next level thing, that's when all of that extra for us is extremely helpful.
Yeah. And we would one day like to retire.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you never know. I would think so. But our purpose of being here is not for you to just have a regular job. Our purpose is for you to do your music and do the artistry. And sometimes it's just what you need in the moment. And sometimes 500 extra bucks is extremely helpful.
Yeah.
So it just is what it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the moral of the story is it's hard to find a balance. And if you're an artist out there struggling to be healthy and all that, you know, you're not by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you have any like tips for the people?
One tip that I find extremely helpful is that if you do make a bad choice, so for example, if we get takeout one night, the next day, you don't repeat the same choice. Because when you build a habit, it's the repetition. So if you make a bad choice, don't sit there and kick yourself for it. But the next day, you're going to get back into your regular routine of, okay, this is when I'm getting up. This is what I'm eating today. And not trying to keep that cycle going. Because I think that's what happens to everyone around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we felt that way because we had Thanksgiving, we got married, then it was Christmas, and then we were moving. So I feel like it has taken months of breaking that cycle. And I've definitely put on a few pounds. You know, I got on the scale and I was like, not an obnoxious amount of weight, but 5 to 10 pounds, put on a little bit more than maybe what I had last summer. I'm not going to sit here and kick myself for it, but the winter months are hard anyway, let alone you're kind of building the bad habits still from the holidays and then the giant life change. It has taken some time to get back on it.
Yeah. I would say not drinking is probably ideal. That's helped me a lot. I think I would be like fat as shit right now if I was still drinking. Because for me, the food's hard enough, but then when you're just consuming excess calories, and because like every gram, every gram of alcohol has 7 calories in it. So like
Good to know.
Fat has 9 calories per gram. Carbohydrates and protein are 4. But alcohol is 7. So you don't think about that. Like people, yes, you feel hungover, but you're also consuming way more calories. That and the whole not drinking caffeine after around like noon.
Yeah.
Any day that I have caffeine after noon, or I don't know, maybe 2 p.m. depending on how late you're staying up.
I think that don't they say within 6 hours?
The half-life is like 9 hours.
Okay.
So it really does take a long time. Like if you're going to go to bed at 9 p.m., you probably shouldn't have caffeine at all after noon.
Yeah.
If you're going to go to bed at like 11, then yeah, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, if you want a little afternoon cup of joe, that's cool. But it really will affect your sleep. Yeah. Both alcohol and caffeine really affect your quality of your sleep. So you might be going to the gym and putting in a lot of hard work, which I fucking hate. And like I said, if you're hot and you're listening out there, tell me about what % body fat you had to get to where you liked going to the gym. I don't get that.
I'm gonna call my sister and be like, hey, tell me what's up.
Well, it's like, because it's not fun. Like I will say this. So like for the first time in my life, I bench pressed 225 pounds. Okay. Once. I'm not saying that I rep 225. For all the haters, I'm not strong. I'm not saying I'm strong.
You're pretty strong.
That's not. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into that.
Stronger than me.
It was, and it was like, I don't know, like 6 months ago or something like that. And I was like, well, that was fun. It felt fun to be able to lift. Like when you hit a new PR, it's fun if you care about how much weight you can lift at all. And I had never been able to do that. Even when I was in high school, the most I ever benched, I think once, was 210. But like to throw the 2 wheels on there and like get it one time, you know what I'm saying? Like it was fun. It felt good. But like I was like, yay. And then that's it.
I think I have more fun than you do when I can kind of get lost in music and I'm having a dance party in my head and things like that, or I have a really enriching podcast. But again, if I do that first thing in the morning, I feel so much more locked in because I'm just up, clothes on, and I'm going, and I feel like it's a really amazing prep to my day. But not everybody feels that way. I acknowledge that.
Yeah. And again, I do miss jujitsu because you burn a lot of calories and you're not really thinking about, you're not thinking. I need things that
You need distraction.
that are scenic, like the walk that we did, or that I'm not thinking to myself, oh, this is exercise. This is a bummer. Like when you're doing jujitsu, you're like, oh no, don't break my arm. Don't choke me.
I don't know if it, being a therapist in a rehab hospital, I don't know for me, I see so many people that lose the ability to use their body that for me, I try to frame it as how lucky I am to have two legs that work and I'm relatively fit and I can do all of these things, even when it comes to small things like making the bed or going up the stairs, because some people get to a point in their life where they can't even do those things. So for me, I'm trying to think of the big picture longevity, that maybe you'll get to that point too, that by just keeping my body moving, I'm helping myself later.
Yeah. And I know all those things. It's just in the moment it sucks. So
Yeah, getting it to click.
But I don't know. We'll adapt and survive. But I know you kind of have like a hard out for this episode because you got to go teach a lesson and I got to do our meal prep for the week.
I know, you have to make our food.
So that we don't eat like ass bags.
No, because if it was up to me to meal prep everything, we have our strong suits. I do the cleaning. I like handle the money. You do the shopping.
Anything that has
to
do in the kitchen.
Yeah. Cooking is your domain.
Dishes.
Yeah. Other very man type tasks. You got my oil change the other day. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
it was very manly. I drove your car to somewhere else where a real man changed your oil. That's what I did.
But I didn't have to talk to him. So
that's true.
I appreciate avoiding that mechanic situation in general. So it's
well,
helpful.
Hopefully this was good. We're still trying to get the camera situation figured out. I don't know why they were cutting in and out this time.
Who knows? Outro music?
Yeah. So again, this was the
good, the
bad,
and the music.
And the music.
Yeah. Our nutritional TED Talk for the week.
Yeah. From people who don't
who don't know anything about it.
We need to have professionals.
We need to have professionals on. We need to have my sister on. We need to have Miranda on. We need people who know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And not just our anecdotal expertise, for sure.
Well, until next time. Thanks for watching. We're your hosts, T. Davis and
bri.worek.
And this is The Good, the Bad, and the Music podcast. I think next time we'll have some guests.
Yeah, I think we're operating more efficiently, so
we'll do what we can, folks. Later.